Hello guys, welcome back to part 2 of our highest rated fragrances series, which is meant to be hyping up and promoting our next release, which is Mr. Momentum. All the notes on screen you see for the note breakdown of the release. We are going to be covering each of these notes with some of the highest rated fragrances on Fragrantica that contain an individual note. Today we're focusing on the heart notes of Mr. Momentum, so we're going to start off with cardamom. By the way guys, link to pre-order Mr. Momentum is in the description or pinned comment down below. Cardamom on its own as a note is quite dirty. A lot of people don't realize this. A lot of people associate it with romantic fragrances, but on its own it is earthy, aromatic, spicy, and has some warmth to it as well. It needs to be paired nicely with other notes in a fragrance to make it work, to make it handsome, and to make it romantic, which people associate the notes with. In Mr. Momentum, cardamom gives the fragrance a handsomeness, a ruggedness to the fragrance, and an extra nuance in a way that a lot of blue fragrances don't have. The first cardamom fragrance is Le Mal Le Parfum. By the way, you're going to see all the ratings from Fragrantica on screen as we're going through each fragrance. Le Mal Le Parfum is probably one of the best fragrances in the brand of Jean Paul Gaultier. Usually a youthful and sexy house, Le Mal Le Parfum is mature, romantic, great for evening scenarios. I think the cardamom does contribute to that romanticness of this DNA. It takes the original, makes it a bit more modern, longer lasting, and louder. The main notes I guess are lavender, cardamom, vanilla, a bit of iris in here to add that elegance as well. And then it also has a slight animalic ruggedness in here as well. So it's obviously masculine, fantastic performing, mature, extremely smooth, really well blended, a very warm and inviting DNA that balances both aromatics and sweeter, warmer notes really nicely. I do feel like lavender and cardamom are such a great complementing duo as well, which you'll see in Mr. Momentum as well. It balances, as I said, the warmth and the freshness of these two different notes here. This is a fragrance you can wear all year round apart from the summertime. I think this is a masterpiece. I personally give this a 10 out of 10. I don't think it's lacking in any departments. 37.9% of people who watch School of Scent are subscribed to us. If you guys really want to see our channel grow, go ahead and click subscribe. Let's get that number to 40%. Thank you. And then the second fragrance is Memo's African Leather. And some of these I did have to get a sample to either try them or to remind myself of the scent. I used to have a sample of African Leather several years back. I got another sample to remind me what it was. But in this new sample with my more developed nose, let's say, nowadays, I've tried it again to let you guys know what I think of it. African Leather is a very spicy fragrance. It's not really a leather fragrance initially. It is a lot of nutmeg, cumin, which gives that very distinct spice cabinet effect for this fragrance. It smells very photorealistic, like you are opening a kitchen cupboard full of spices. The cardamom is in here to give it that sexiness, and it drives down to this sort of fuzzy, intense warmth of the woody notes. I think there's oud in here. I'm not sure if it's real oud, and there's also the patchouli. This is definitely a patchouli, ambery, spicy fragrance overall. And of course, there is a leather in here that never feels overwhelming. So if you want a very sexy, rugged, masculine DNA, that's a great signature you wear most of the year round, apart from, let's say, the summertime, because it's definitely too intense for that. This is a fantastic, long-lasting fragrance. 12 hours longevity with medium to loud projection. Definitely for the kind of guys who like Sauvage Elixir. I feel like African Leather is more wearable than that fragrance. Definitely for the kind of guys who likes oud for greatness as well. If you like that spicy, masculine, aggressive style, this is a great scent for you. I don't feel like it changes too much on the dry downs. I'm not sure if I'd give this a perfect 10, but I would say maybe 9 or 10, maybe 9.5 overall is what I'd give African Leather. A fantastic scent from Memo. The note of passion fruit. You've either tried passion fruit or you haven't, but to kind of describe its scent, it's very bright, zingy, very tropical, has this tart sweetness to it at the same time. So it's a very sexy and distinct note that really makes a fragrance stand out. In Mr. Momentum, it's never an overly strong passion fruit. It doesn't make the fragrance tropical, it doesn't smell like a summer fragrance, but it feels like it's a unique, distinct twist in there that's always in the background that makes Mr. Momentum its own kind of blue fragrance. The first fragrance we'll discuss is Oud Maracuya by Maison Credelli. This is one of the best from the house from what I've tried so far. It's one of their most hyped fragrances. This is essentially an incense, rose and oud fragrance, very high quality, nicely done, beastly, and then they put that passion fruit twist in here, hence the name of this fragrance release. Rose and oud, I always say, can be a very boring combination because it's been done to death, but Oud Maracuya puts enough of a twist on here that this smells really sexy, really thick, smoky, leathery, intense. If you like fragrances like Ombre Nomade, I would recommend a fragrance like this instead because it smells more creative in my opinion. Easily over 12 hours, maybe 16 hours with medium to loud projection. a cooler weather fragrance, probably more suited for the evening time, but you can wear this in the daytime as long as you go easy on the trigger and you're in a casual environment. I want to see this working in an office very well, for example. But I think you can wear this in 3 out of 4 seasons. Fantastic blend, fantastic performance. To me, this is a fantastic masculine cool weather signature that gets a 10 out of 10. And then next up is a fragrance I've introduced to the channel recently, which is Lumari's Porthole. A fragrance that's quite tricky to get here in the UK, but I did get a sample and it's a very interesting fragrance. I thought it was actually a ripened sweet mango scent with a very thick, creamy muskiness in here as well. And then I looked at the note breakdown and I was wrong. This has passion fruit and pineapple, but even after looking at those notes, I still felt like it gave more of a mango effect to my nose anyways. It also has interesting notes like iodine in here. I'm not sure if I'm getting that. That's a very intriguing note for sure. And it does smell a little bit salty. So salty, creamy, almost coconut-like in its creaminess, a little bit floral as well. Thick, very dense, very strong tropical fragrance here. So strong that actually I think you can wear this in the spring, summer, and the autumn time. It is linear. It can be oversprayed, so be careful not to go too heavy on the trigger with this fragrance, but it's very nice, it's creative, very attractive, and I would say it's unisex overall. So for me, Lumari Porthole does deserve the hype it's getting nowadays. I think it's a very new, recent release. I'd personally give this a 9 out of 10. And then finally, the note of lavender, one of the most prominent notes in perfumes overall. You get 2 different types of lavender in general. You can get top note lavender, which is lavender oil, which makes a very soapy and clean effect you get in lavender scents. And then you have lavender absolute, which is prepared in a different way to lavender oil. It's more earthy, aromatic, more thick, and musky is how I would describe it. And a little bit green as well. Lavender is in the heart notes of Mr. Momentum, so it's probably going to be more of a lavender absolute that the perfumer has used, so it gives it that robustness, but that constant cleanliness to the fragrance throughout, which I feel contributes to that blue feeling of a scent. The first fragrance we're going to discuss is Hugo Boss The Scent Elixir, getting a lot of hype these days. Obviously, this came out after Boss Bottled Elixir, which I felt was a fantastic release. That's a 10 out of 10 for myself at least. The Scent Elixir, I was looking forward to it. On the opening, it's a very sexy fragrance, very fruity, woody, amber based. I feel like the Elixir flankers are just very much strong, woody ambers is what the perfumers usually use to give that Elixir thick effect. This is a nice fruity, woody amber that dries down to the more leathery, flat, woody feel of the scent line in general. It does remind you of the scent fragrances, especially the original. On the dry down, it has good performance. It can be worn as a day and night fragrance all year round apart from the summertime. However, I feel like that opening and that sexiness and the complexity there, the fruity, woody amber feel, kind of dies down after a while. It's kind of just left with this woody, musky, flat fragrance that unfortunately a lot of Hugo Boss fragrances suffer from this flatness. I don't like it that much. I think it's a little bit overhyped, but you can try it out. I think if you're a beginner, you'll enjoy it. You'll probably get compliments from it. It's a good performer, but for me, I'd give it maybe a 7 out of 10 overall. I'm personally not a fan. Then we have Ralph's Club Elixir, which I'm actually wearing right now. This is a fragrance that's very interesting. Now, all the other Ralph Club fragrances, I've been very underwhelmed by them. But in this fragrance, I feel like it is definitely a standout from the line. It might be the best from the line that I've tried so far. So it definitely has that clean, musky, lavender, soapy DNA that the other Ralph Club fragrances have. But now this is more intense, more spicy, more of a frankincense fragrance, and it has that slight earthy nuance from the orris in here. Although I don't think it's real orris because you have to pay an absolute fortune for real orris. So I think it's probably iris. It gives a slight earthy powderiness in here. With the amber in here, I feel like it's an amber fragrance that smells very clean. So if you want a lighter amber fragrance from the frankincense here, Ralph's Club Elixir is very solid. I think it could be your signature in day and night in 3 out of 4 seasons apart from the summertime. It almost has a Middle Eastern feel to it, a slight fruity nuance in here as well in the opening. If you like phrases like Jubilation 25 by Amouage, or if you like Armani Coke Parfum, I feel like those kind of styles have kind of been blended together to make this fragrance. It's obviously not as niche as Jubilation, but I feel like this is in affordable niche territory. It changes a lot on the dry down. It has a good blend, good ingredients, great performance lasting at least over 8 hours. I probably need more time to consolidate my understanding of the performance, but it's a very good fragrance to me at least. I would hover between 9 and 10 for this fragrance. I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10 overall. Have you guys tried this fragrance? Let me know, do you agree with my sentiments on it? I'm really surprised by this release because this might be one of the only good recent releases by Ralph Lauren for their fragrances. And that concludes this video, guys. Remember that Mr. Momentum is going to be available for 5 days only from the 29th of July for pre-order. And you get a complimentary sample to try the fragrance out first whenever you do pre-order it. Tomorrow's upload will be covering the base notes of Mr. Momentum, the highest rated fragrances with those notes in there. Make sure you check out part 1 of this series up here. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.